Welcome home. We are WNST. Tassel, Baltimore. Baltimore Positive. This one's going to be a fun one. We were at Koco's. We were kicking off it was 26 years and the 26th anniversary and 26 oysters, but we're doing a 27th oyster because Marcella said so. We're at Koco's. We're in Lauraville. It's all brought to you by the Maryland Lottery. I have the final Gold Rush Sevens doublers batch. It is a hearty batch. I will have these out of here because we're making room for the Raven Scratch-Offs. We'll have those next week. Next Friday, going to be at Cooper's in Fells Point kicking off the Fells Point Oyster Festival. I'll be in like Oyster 10 or 11 by then. And I have special guests all along the way. I want to say this. The Liberty Pure Solutions, they keep my water clean. 1-800-CLEAN-WATER, but they keep my water clean, and they the oysters keep the bay clean. So that's the thing I'm going to be educating people about all month long, the Oyster Recovery Partnership. And when you go into Costas or Favies and like, no, put the oysters in that bag, put it in the oyster thing. That's what it's going to be all about. We'll talk about that on the 26th. We're going to be at the B&O Railroad Museum for their big gala, and it's taken me 33 years on the air. And you can tell me if I'm wrong because I have a bad memory and I think you're a little older than me. Mark Viviano and I have never done radio together as I know it. Now, I know you hosted in my studios. You could tell me when. Yeah. I've known you since the beginning of time with BAL, and then you went to Atlanta, and I think I even ran into you when you were in your little Atlanta thing, and you came back here. I always think of you as a BAL guy, crazy enough, even though you were Jay-Z for 2 decades. But you and I have never, done a radio because you worked for the competitor. Jay didn't like me. I got thrown out of the ballpark. But, you are responsible for my dentist in my neighborhood. I consider
Dr. Lebo.
I consider you a friend. My teeth are beautiful and straight because of Dr. Jeffrey Lebo. And when I moved into Federal Hill neighborhood, you were sitting on the board of your condo association. Yeah. And Viviano would just run by. I'd be looking out the window at the 23rd floor. I'd be like, oh, there's Viv going up, 30 minutes later. There's Viv going down. So,
all the running.
We were downtown people for a
long time.
Really
Fed Hill and Canton
life.
For me for about 24 years. Now, the only time you and I, see if you remember this.
Oh, boy, here we go.
Actually did a radio exchange. I was in Atlanta. You were doing a syndicated national thing.
Yeah.
What was that network?
All-Star Game? Maybe the Turner Field All-Star Game?
No. It was whatever that network was.
Sporting News Radio. Sporting One-on-One Sports Flash.
Okay, so I'm
out of Northbrook, Illinois.
I'm at CNN Sports Illustrated.
So hold on, wait, this is 99, 2000, 2001.
It's been 2000.
Okay, so
it's in 2000, and they solicited a few of us at CNN Sports Illustrated to do some fill-in shows in a studio in Atlanta for that network, and Clay Madvick and I did it. And after as our show was ending, we tossed to you, and you and I had a very brief exchange.
Was I in Chicago?
I don't know where you were.
Well, I could talk down the line because I did my show from the second floor in Springhouse Court in White Marsh. I did the national show from my home on the second floor.
This is 24 years ago.
Wow, Viv, you have how many times did you host WNST Radio because when you came back, right? When did you come back?
2002.
All right.
May of 2002 I came back, and I did a few fill-in shows.
So you weren't here when the Ravens won the first Super Bowl. Purple Rain won.
I was in between. I was in Atlanta.
How many years there? 3, 4?
I got there in December of 99 and came back here in May. I signed off the last show on that network on CNN Sports Illustrated with Mike Galanos, who went on to continue in news at Headline News. But Mike and I signed off the last show.
Was Hickman there and Nick Charles and...
Well, Nick wasn't there.
Okay.
Nick was a CNN original.
Well, Nick had your seat. Nick had your seat when I was a boy. 1973, 74, Andrea Kirby and Nick Charles were the first TV sportscasters, before Randy Blair, before any of the legends, before John Buren, any of those guys. That's my childhood. You didn't work with Nick, though. He was gone by then.
I did not know. He visited one time, and I had a chance to meet him, and we got to connect over the whole Baltimore.
Was Van Earl right there?
Van Earl was not there anymore.
I love Van Earl. What a good man.
Nancy Newman was there. Inga Hammond. Tom Rinaldi.
Hannah Storm was long gone, right?
Hannah was gone by then. Stephen A. Tom Verducci, a lot of the Sports Illustrated guys.
Sure, the SI people.
Don Banks, may he rest in peace. God bless him.
What a there's a moment there for him, right? Name me a better guy than Don Banks.
Don, just a dear friend of mine, and he was.
You made me cry, Viv. I didn't even think we'd talk about this, man. We've been at this a long time, you and me.
When I saw Peter King at the AFC Championship game.
Well, he was a part of your thing too, right? Of
yeah,
course, right?
I did shows with Peter. We talked about Don, and Don, for those who don't know, Don, longtime NFL writer.
Donnie Brasco.
He passed away in his hotel room during the weekend of Ed Reed's induction
in Canton,
Ohio.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, that was a sobering thing for me to see because it scared me. Don and I are the same age, and the thought of passing in a hotel room away from your family, it just shook me to my core. That's a horrible thing.
Now we're going back 4 years, right before the plague, maybe 19 this happened, 5 years.
It was.
I saw Don in random on my baseball tour, my crazy baseball tour. I'm in Toronto on day 12. I make it up. It was 2015. I'm in Toronto, and they're playing the Red Sox, and there's Don with his kid.
He had two sons,
out in right field. I'm with Big Poppy. I had a press pass that day, a rare day. But I saw Don and waved to him, and 2 weeks later, I'm in Comiskey Park on like day 30, walking, and I ran into him again. What the hell?
That's serendipitous to say the least. But he's
huge Springsteen fan.
And Red Sox.
Yeah, he turned me down for Springsteen tickets. I had an extra ticket at Barclays, which he was living in Brooklyn. He loved his life there. I can't believe we're talking about Don, but Don was just such a...
God bless him.
Just
what
a wonderful... But that affected you, Mark.
Yeah.
Really?
The thought of dying in a hotel room away from my family, just that shook me. And there were some other guys who passed away. Mel Antonin.
Sure.
He was ill. He got sick during the pandemic and then had some other complications from that. A couple of guys that I worked with, a couple of photographers passed away. And we're all about the same age.
Too young to be passing.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
I'm 55. I'll be 56 next month.
I just turned 60.
All right.
And I'm an older dad because I didn't get married till I was 49, didn't become a father till I was 51. And
you have a whole different... I was a dad at 15.
Right.
You have a totally different... My kid turns 42 weeks from now.
It's amazing.
Totally different perspective.
Totally different.
And we've done the same sort of gig, chasing athletes around with Mike. Whatever,
no question.
In this sort of the same way forever.
But, I...
And you wonder what the value of all that is.
Well, we can get into it, but, I say relative to when things come about in your life, these major moments, the getting married, having children, whatever it is, God gives you life. He doesn't give you a schedule. You're left on your own to figure that part out. And even as an older dad, it was funny when I asked, my wife's father for her hand in marriage, one of the things he said to both of us, you can do the math. She's younger than me. That's just what it is. And I said, yeah, I can. And I have a perspective about now having been alive longer, that I could walk away from the only job I ever wanted because I want to be with my family. And I'm blessed to have had those years as a single man in which I worked multiple jobs. I was a full-time TV guy. I had a full-time radio show, and I took vacation from both of them to travel with the Orioles and do Masson.
And you were running 150 miles a week.
And doing marathons and stuff like that. So I got all that stuff done. It was all good. And now I retired in July, and I'm coaching my kids' baseball teams, 2 of them. I'm baseball practice every night. I love it.
You throwing BP?
Yes, sir.
That would not go well for me.
I had rotator cuff surgery in April.
I was going to say, yeah.
And I kind of was thinking, I want to be able to, and
That's your goal.
I'm icing it. I'm icing it at night, but I can do it. It's all good.
How many times did we see Messina, with
Oh.
the bag up on his arm back in the 90s? Mark Viviano's our guest. We're out here at Koco's. I was thinking about this because I had to go get my seat cushion for you.
I went out.
This was to sit on my face, a seat cushion here.
What year is that? What circa?
This would be 1998, probably Memorial Stadium last year.
Yep.
Because we had just gotten the station.
Eric
We
Zier,
liked the
the
logo
quarterback.
because we didn't really need it. Well, the seat cushion, maybe it was 99 because Memorial Stadium was uncomfortable. I mean, you know what I mean? So,
Sure.
But anyway, they have wooden seats here, and I've sat in a lot of church pews at Our Lady of Fatima, but my back doesn't handle that, so I got to move it. So I ran out to the car. You used the restroom. I told you we're going to get some coconut shrimp. And I thought, all right, so we're going to talk about the media thing. We're going to talk about Angela. We're going to talk about all of that and media rights and access and big media and small media. And we'll do all of that. But I thought, I don't know you well enough. And and the familiarity even for the audience to say, Viviano's legitimate. You're not legitimate. What is he? 30 years, I've never sat with you. And I've sat with you having hot dogs in stadia, in hotels. I think we've been on planes together. I'm sure we've lined up for planes together at 8 in the morning in Nashville.
Coffee at the Metropolitan.
Do we have a coffee at the Metropolitan?
Yes, we did.
Did we do that?
Yeah.
All right.
Because you were walking right. I lived across the street.
Metropolitan Cafe.
Yeah.
I'm thinking the cafe met in Seattle.
No. On South Charles Street.
Okay.
911 South Charles.
Right across from the liquor store.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I know you're from St. Louis, right?
Correct. Born and raised.
I learned during your retirement that you were a journalism J school Missouri guy like my dude Jeff Gordon, out in St. Louis, who I worked with 40 years ago. I don't know your gig, man. I know you showed up here at BAL on my TV. I was a Chris Thomas guy. You sort of took his gig, right? Maybe? I mean, Vince sort of sideways in that way, right? Chris just left. He gone to Tampa. He got his gig.
Okay.
Right? So you were Vince's number 2, right? Or 1 and 1?
No, Sandusky was there.
Okay.
Vince was doing weekend mornings. Vince was kind of part-time in his way into retirement.
So when did Jerry get there?
Jerry got there in 92, something.
And you got there
94. 30 years ago.
See, I didn't remember that it was the other way around. I thought Jerry took your gig when you left.
Jerry's been there.
Okay, and now I remember it, but it was a small period of time where it was just the two of you. Right? You 94 to maybe 98, 4 years?
I left in 99.
So you were there 5 years together with Jerry.
Yes.
That's why I don't remember. I think of Vince, right? I think of Vince at 11. I think of Chris Thomas at 11, honestly.
Absolutely.
And I don't know your pathway.
Your son was an intern when I was there. Your son came in to visit wearing his San Francisco 49ers jacket.
Right.
Yeah, I remember him.
Okay. So how did you get to BAL? Give me the This Is Your Life Mark Viviano, because that's really what I wanted to do today. I don't know the first time you went to Busch Stadium. I don't know your favorite Cardinal. I just know you're a Cardinal head. I know I've always liked you. The city loves you. But, I've never had you on to be able to, give you a hard time or,
so good.
Talk to you a little bit. So, did you grow up in St. Louis? Give me the story.
Born in the city.
Pretend we're on a first date.
Yeah. Born in the city, one of 5 kids.
Near the hill where Yogi Berra and Joe Garagiola? No?
Not far. My father, Sicilian, second generation American. My mother, second generation Polish. 5 kids. They wanted 10. I was the second of the 5 that they had. Grew up in St. Louis, went to the University of Missouri. I decided when I was 17 years old I wanted to be a broadcaster. Why? I really wanted, because I wanted to be the center fielder for the Cardinals or play in the NBA.
You played sports every day of your life
all
as a kid?
All the time.
Okay.
But it was clear to me that I was not proficient enough to do either. I could have played Division III basketball, big deal. What did I really want to do? Be around sports, play sports. Couldn't play it at a level that would have been life-sustaining. So I was also the guy who would do play-by-play while sitting on the bench during basketball games. I fell in love listening.
Well, you had Joe Buck, man.
Jack Buck.
I'm sorry, you had Jack Buck. That's what I meant.
I fell in love with the art of describing live sports. That was my dream. That's what pulled me into wanting to go into broadcasting. When I went to the University of Missouri, and I did do the J school thing, But
Not to be a newspaper writer, though.
no,
Different than.
I had to do that, and that's one thing that's good about at Mizzou. You gotta learn it all, and they do have a NBC affiliate that the university owns. That on the weekends it is student run. I was doing the sports on the weekends.
So this is 82, 3, 4, 5 in that range.
I graduated high school in 82, college in
Not
86.
a bad year for the Cardinals, as I remembered, 82.
Freshman year, we celebrated pouring. Remember Wiedemann beer? You ever hear of that? You could get a case of it for $5 in Columbia, Missouri.
I know you could.
So we poured it on each
other's
other's
head. It was $4.99 at Budget Liquors over in Dundalk. It was.
So you know.
Talking to a man that hadn't had red, white, and blue in Wiedemann's? What are you talking about,
there you
man?
go.
I'm East Baltimore.
So anyway, went to Mizzou, and you said
82. So 86 you got at 86.
I got out at 86, and first job was in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. I go up to Cedar Rapids, Iowa, where the intern I worked with, Kurt Menefee. Kurt Menefee and I are friends to this day. So Kurt and I used to run around on Friday nights in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, shooting high school highlights, get back to the studio and edit them, old edit system, 3/4-inch tapes. It would take you forever to get stuff done, and you would just have the VO done. You didn't have your voice on it because that took way too long. So Kirk and I would stand at a live.
And this is the tapes are this big at this time. Right?
So John Campbell, sports director in the Hall of Fame in Iowa, God bless him, my first boss. That was a blessing to me. That guy worked so hard and knew so much. So here's Kurt Menefee and I. Kurt Menefee, for those who do not know, he's been the Fox Sports NFL guy.
I had a night with Menefee in Austin, Texas with the E Street Band and Brian Baldinger.
What a dude.
And I hung out all night, and I didn't see him for 25 years, and I saw him at a Super Bowl like 2 years ago, and he came over like we were family.
He's a prince. That man is a prince.
He's a good dude.
But he and I used to stand in front of a live microphone with our notes, and our highlights would be playing live. And we would go, all right, Linmar had the ball at the 5-yard line with a chance to take the lead over Cedar Rapids, Washington. And and then now we go to Kurt Menefee, who was at the Linmar game. Whatever, it's like
right.
We did that. That's and I covered University of Iowa, Iowa State. From there, the guy that hired me in Iowa, the general manager, Phil Stoles, becomes the general manager at WBAL.
Phil Stoles, famous name here, yeah.
He becomes the GM in Baltimore, hires a news director who calls me on Phil's recommendation, Dave Roberts. I came to Baltimore, set foot for the first time ever in this city on Preakness Saturday, 1994.
Who won the race? Gato del Sol. I'm making that up.
Codex, maybe?
Maybe 94. That can't
anyway,
be it. Okay.
So I'm at the Harbor View Hotel. It was the most beautiful day ever.
Harbor Court Hotel.
Harbor Court.
That's where I lived.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Harbor Court Hotel.
94. Hold on. 90. You arrived 94 Preakness. So Camden Yards is built.
Oh, yeah.
Angelos owns the team. You missed the All-Star game.
Yep.
The CFL Colts are about to happen. Right. All right. So I'm just getting vibed on that. Okay. So spring of 94. I'm trying to think of where I am in life, how bad the Orioles were. Oh, the baseball strike. Yep. Oh, my God,
Thank
dude.
you.
The baseball strike was 8 weeks away.
So here I am.
All right. So good.
First time covering. I'm in a major league town covering.
No prayer the football was coming back here. You didn't come here ever thinking that they were going to get an NFL team.
But let me tell you this. So when I'm in Dayton, Ohio, from the first day I go to work in Dayton, Ohio was the day Pete Rose gets banned from baseball. Day one. This was August 1989.
Bart Giamatti.
In 90, they beat the A's in the World Series. I'm out in Oakland covering the Reds because Dayton, Ohio is like 35, 40 minutes.
It's a suburb of Cincinnati.
Yeah, basically. True story. After the Reds sweep the A's in Oakland, a bunch of us reporters are out at a hotel bar.
89.
This is 90.
90. Sorry, okay.
Yeah, 89 was
89 was Bay Area. Okay.
All right, so 90. There's one of those Papa-Shot machines, and so we're playing Papa-Shot basketball, and I'm kind of winning here. Some guy comes over, Ricky Henderson. He goes, let me try this.
No, he didn't say let me. He said let Ricky.
Let Ricky.
Give Ricky the ball.
Ricky and the A's had just been swept in the World Series, and he lost in Papa-Shot to me. So that's a low point in his life, although he's in the Hall of Fame.
He's got more stolen bases than you.
Yes, he does. Good man.
He had more speed.
Anyway, so you're right. So I get here to Baltimore in 94. The first live shot I did was from Memorial Stadium prior to Doug Flutie and the Calgary Stampeders coming to town to take on the Baltimore CFL.
Doug Flutie with a lot of Baltimore ties. He had a lot of family in Baltimore.
Then, as you mentioned, baseball.
There's another good dude, Doug Flutie. Good dude.
Good dude.
Good dude.
So baseball season, it's Johnny Oates and the Orioles, and boom, it's all over because of the strike. And next thing I know, I'm in New York covering that. I'm in Washington, D.C. at the Mayflower Hotel chasing Don Fear, talking to Mark Belanger, who was with the Players Union back then.
That was the Joe Smith winter, too. I believe that was the Joe Smith at Maryland winter. That was the year.
I think
that was
right.
the year that we didn't have anything else.
Yeah,
we didn't have a
point.
football team. We didn't have baseball. Baseball was on strike, and the Terps were kind of like coming into their own at that point.
Yeah. So they cancel the season. Oates gets fired. They hire Phil Regan, and this is in November at this point. And Phil Regan is coaching the
Indians.
Caracas,
Leones.
Venezuela. Leones. So I tell my news director, I said, nobody knows who this guy is. How about we just go down to Caracas? Can you imagine even asking a news director that these days in this business?
How much is the American Airlines flight at that time?
Oh, who knows?
Right.
You never got.
It didn't matter. He was the Orioles manager, and you had to go get him.
You know who was down there? As I get down there, Tom Keegan was down there for the. Got his lap.
The late great. Tom's still with us. We lost. Joe Strauss. I'm sorry, Tom.
Yeah.
I love you. You know that.
Keegan got his laptop stolen in the press box in Caracas, and so Phil Regan warned me. He goes, "Just watch your stuff around here." Have you been down? That's your native.
I'm Venezuelan.
Yeah.
Yes.
You've been down.
I've been to Maracaibo, but not since that era. I went several times in the 80s and once in the 90s.
Okay.
That's it. I've been down there around that time. I've been down there 92 or 93. Yeah.
So Regan gives us full access. We got a mic on him. We're walking through the town with him. We're going up to these different academies with him. I had a good relationship with Phil. Like, this guy.
He was a wonderful man.
Wonderful. Just
wonderful.
He was very grandfatherly.
A Michigan.
Yeah.
He reminds me of everybody when we start to really talk about the media. How many of those men, they were all men of that era, would meet a young person like us as a reporter and want to teach you something? Because they were men who taught things.
Yeah.
They were teachers.
Good point.
Marvin Lewis would always say, I'm a teacher. I'm not a coach.
Yeah.
I'm a teacher. And Phil Regan, all of those guys that would take their time and sit with Mark Viviano of the television station, and let you mic them up, that whatever their story was, they wanted to educate the audience. They wanted to educate you. They felt like you had value as a person, as a human, and that's who Phil Regan was.
Yeah. So
you're like, that doesn't go on anymore. No, it doesn't, and that's not good.
You can't come close to guys like that unless you're the network, and then you still got to beg to get that kind of access. But so we cover Regan. He lasts 1 year, but that 1 year was the Cal 21-31 year. This is all happening. This is like, and then as that's happening too, we break the story that the Cleveland Browns are moving.
All right,
there.
so look.
This is all happening.
Hold on a minute. Watergate's, Nixon's dead. They're all dead. We now know who Deep Throat is, right? You can Google Deep Throat and find out who Deep Throat is. Is there going to come a point where you're going to tell me that Bob Loeffler told you that the team was coming?
No.
Are you ever going to tell me?
I've told the story.
You told the story.
I've told the story.
I don't know this. Can I take a break?
Take a break. I'll tell you the story.
You're going to tell me this? You're not. This is going to be the real story.
It's been published.
Because I don't know this story.
I'll be happy to share it with you.
So you get here, and you get the scoop of the century, literally. And I'll tell you my story because I was in Cleveland the night it happened. I was on the tarmac in Cleveland when Art signed the deal. I was at the airport because it was the World Series was going on in Cleveland.
Yes, it was.
And I was there covering it.
Which is a funny story,
when I was a real reporter.
Because I'll tell you a story about the NBC affiliate in Cleveland who, when I called about this story, their reaction.
Mark Viviano's here. We're at Koco. It's all brought to you by the Maryland Lottery in conjunction with our friends at Jiffy Lube Multicare. We're doing 27 oysters in 27 days, even though I've only got 26 years. It's all brought to you by Liberty Pure Solutions. Marcella has put on the menu here. Read up here. Garlic roasted oysters with broiled
Gruyere and Parmesan.
You speak like a Missourian. Gruyere and Parmesan. Well, you're like Sicilian, so you probably can say that the right way. So my first oyster will not be with my cousin John Shields at Gertrude's tomorrow. It will be right here on this stage at Koco's. We're in Lauraville. Viv's going to tell stories. I've given out a whole bunch of lottery tickets. We're going to be at Cooper's next Friday. We're going to be at State Fair on the 24th. We're going to be at Costas on the 27th. We're working at the governor. We'll see how that goes. We're working at the other governor. Governor Hogan will also be joining us. Angela Alsobrooks later on. John Sarbanes. I've got Dave Sheinin.
Good man.
Oh, one of my favorites, right? Dave Sheinin and Chad Wiesling. Do you know Chad?
I don't know
Agent Chad. Chad's the agent for a whole bunch of players in the NFL.
Oh.
Played at Maryland for Krevac. And he's going to join us next Friday at Cooper. So we got all sorts of stuff going on. I got lottery tickets. I got Viviano here. This is your life, Viv. We're going to come back and talk more St. Louis stuff. But I'm going to stop the whole thing because when I did the This Is Your Life, I wondered if you were really going to tell me the story, if you're going to play the Not Till I Die.
No.
You know.
It's out there, brother.
100 years to the day on November of 2095. We'll find this out. All right. I can't wait to hear it. That's why I didn't Google it ahead of time. Mark Viviano, we're back for more. It's Baltimore Positive. We're at Koco. Stay with us.